Let's talk about boys and how they develop. I am Deidré Wallace, a relationship and corporate therapist. The clue is always in the gaze. Point 27. In this video, I address a topic that often gets omitted, and this is rather sad as it means that we don't often understand how boys develop as much as we ought to. At this point, we need to go back a few steps as we need to examine how boys develop as opposed to girls. Once a baby is born, and if it is a boy, at some stage he will realize that he's not like his mother. He is different. He is a boy. And eventually he'll also have to learn to be a man, whereas girls don't. And right now masculinity is in crisis. Why? Boys have to separate themselves out from their mothers in order to develop a sense of self. When boys realize that they are not like their mothers, they will naturally begin to slowly identify with their fathers. They can begin to learn what it means to be masculine. They will learn that they have penises, and they'll learn what it's like to be more physical, fearless, strong, and possibly even competitive. However, this can be very confusing for a boy, especially if they are still largely dependent on their mothers for their nurturing and love, because the fear of being cut off from her can create anxiety or even a deep terror. Why? Still dependent on his mother for food and love, a boy can feel deeply vulnerable, and if they are indeed emotionally or physically abandoned, especially in the early years, then an anger can ensue, which can be expressed later via outright sadism or misogyny. And you may want to watch or re-watch video 3 to understand why little John developed that look of betrayal, hate, and anger as well as disappointment once he meets his mother after being left in a care home for only 10 days to have a second child. And I've often explained that if all the negative emotions and experience a child feels is not resolved, then it also gets taken into adulthood and acted out. And it can evolve into an anger, even hatred, involving not just a mother, but all women, if a child felt emotionally or physically abandoned, or indeed smothered again, as pointed out in earlier videos. By the way, misogyny is not just restricted to boys. It can exist in girls too. We all depend on our mothers. So the fear or the rage of being abandoned or cut off from her exists equally between both sexes. However, when girls grow up, they can become mothers themselves, so they learn to dissipate and internalize their misogyny, even though they also have to slowly separate out or individuate from their mothers. But this isn't the case with boys. With regard to boys, the more traumatic, toxic, or disruptive their childhood, the more likely a boy will grow up extremely angry or enraged with his mother, or indeed women, for letting him down. If a child doesn't feel secure, due also to possible disruptions, change in living conditions, abuse, having witnessed domestic violence, alcoholism, so on, even though the pain may get buried in order for children to go to school, once they are adults, the pain often re-emerges, and it can re-emerge if they felt that their mother wasn't able to stand up to their father, if he made or didn't make decisions that created friction in the family, or if, say, divorce ensued, and so on. And what a child witnesses and absorbs usually affects their own relationships or behavior within their relationships in adulthood. However, no child escapes unscathed. We all experience a range of conflicting emotions as we grow and develop. Even the most loving homes, boys are often steeped in chauvinism. Hurts from childhood can be small, like feeling ignored, or more severe hurts, like being abandoned or abused. The worse the pain endured early in life, the more likely a boy will build a tough, manly shell to protect himself. But the tougher the shell, the more his feelings about women can get pushed down inside, where they can turn into anger or cruelty. And in an ironic twist, the boys, or indeed men who seem the toughest on the outside, are often the most emotionally fragile on the inside, and some can barely cope at all. Here lies the paradox. The aggressor is often not independent, but dependent, still wanting his mummy inside him to nurture or care for him. This is why men are often happier when in relationships in adulthood, happier when married, when they can feel secure and loved, when they can feel needed, as they participate in looking after their own family. And this leads to the next video. In the next video, I will address why a child requires both parents in childhood. Back to you. How does this relate to your experiences? As a man, is this what you feel? Or as a woman, is this your experience of boys or men? Do let me know. Once again, I would encourage you to start a journal if you haven't already. So as I go through the various points, you can jot down how you think or feel my knowledge is helping you understand yourself better. And do comment or subscribe if you wish to learn more. Thank you.